Mitch, buddy,
Hey, pal.
how you been this week?
I'm doing fantastic.
I'm doing fantastic, dude. It's been a couple weeks
It's been
since
minute.
Easter and all that kind of stuff.
Been a minute, as
Been
the
a hot
kids
minute.
say.
A hot minute. So we're starting a new series.
Yes, sir.
We're going to be looking at like what makes Methodism. Like
Yeah.
what's different about Methodism than maybe some other
And we might tag in some old episodes, some OGs, some original
OGs.
content.
Oh man,
Some OCs.
some OCs, OGOC.
Ooh,
Nice.
OGC, original OG content.
So we're looking at today. We're looking at grace, and we're looking at what Methodist founder John Wesley described as prevenient grace.
Yes.
Right.
Grace that comes before.
Prevenient, so grace that comes before, and the I know you've heard of prevenient grace before.
Correct. Yes.
Yep. But I would argue that probably a lot of Methodists may not know and understand it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a hard one to, they're all, it's all hard to.
Yeah. So there's like three different kinds of grace. We're just going to talk about prevenient grace today. And then in the future episodes, we'll talk about some additional ones.
And all terms we're trying to use to describe a relationship between us and God, which is not easy to describe.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people understand what grace is. Grace versus mercy. I don't know if we've talked about that before.
We haven't, but
why
we did
don't you help the folks out with grace versus mercy?
Well,
What's the difference?
Well, we had a great example on Sunday we were talking about, but say you get caught cheating on a test.
Yep.
The teacher catches you, and they don't punish you with detention.
Yep.
So they should. They have the authority. They have the right. Possibly the moralistic obligation to punish you with detention, and they don't. That's very merciful.
Right.
You did not get what you deserved.
Right. You ask the judge if you're a criminal, and you ask the judge for mercy.
Yes.
Right.
Reduce
sentence, not to give you what you deserve.
Fully understand that you've done wrong in the sight of the situation.
Yep.
And what you deserve as punishment is withheld.
Yep.
Mercy.
All
right. Exact same scenario. Cheat on the test. You get caught. What you may deserve is a 0 and detention. But what you get offered is an opportunity to apologize. And with that comes an A.
Right. Not even just retake the test, but just a flat A.
Yeah.
Right. So grace is you getting something
you didn't deserve.
You didn't deserve at all.
You did not earn.
Right. You didn't earn it. And that's a really difficult concept, I think, for a lot of people in modern America.
Well, when you put it into other contexts too, we want everybody to get what they deserve.
Get what they deserve.
Other than us.
I've earned this.
We want everybody else to get what they deserve.
Right.
We want to have this unbounding favor and grace with people. We want everybody else to. So we're all kind of two-sided when it comes to that.
Yeah. I would say, we want to, if we mess up in an interpersonal relationship with someone, like if I say something mean to you or something like that, I want you to have some grace, right, with me and just, understand it. But vice versa, I may not feel the same way, right? And I think about that a lot as I do frequently mess up. So I think about that a lot, which is like when someone else, when I read too much into something or whatever, I think about, what, I'm going to back up for a minute and give that person some grace and not even, maybe they're having a bad day. And I really have to tell that to my oldest child a lot, right? Like somebody bumped into me in the hallway or whatever. And it's like, well, maybe they didn't mean it, like maybe just back up. Maybe they're not not having a good day or whatever, right? So it's a very hard thing to do.
But it's liberating when you can do it in that forgiveness aspect there.
Yeah.
Where, not to throw another layer into it, but
Yeah, it's really
it's freeing whenever you can not carry around the score ticket of retribution.
Yeah, exactly. So, we as Methodists believe that God's grace is working through you even before you're born. God is seeking you, searching you, working within you.
You can ignore it, you can run from it, you can hide from it.
You didn't even know it exists because you're a baby, right?
But it's pursuing you.
But God is relentlessly pursuing you from before you're even born.
Correct.
Right? And so that grace is working through you and helping to develop you till you get to a point where you're old enough, mature enough to kind of feel God working within you, and then there's other types of grace. So this idea of prevenient grace, that God's always working within you, I think is a very Methodist idea, right? And what's really, I don't know, man, it's taken me like years to understand that you don't do anything to earn that grace.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You have to do nothing. It's given freely to you. Now, I think what some people, have the problem with, or, the perspective of, is with our society, you ever have a neighbor bring over a pie to you, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh shoot, I got to do something for them, right? Because it's
reciprocal.
Always yeah, it's this back and forth,
okay,
right? You know what I mean? That it's hard. Like the other day, I was in the line at McDonald's, right? The car in front of me paid for Parker's Happy Meal.
No.
Right. That was so nice. So then I was like, well, let me pay for the car behind me, right? And they were getting a Happy Meal. I think it was all people from Joyful Noise, just all went through, right, the preschool. But then I felt the need to do it to the person behind me, right? Or, same thing happened to Shauna, I don't know, 6 months ago, right? Somebody bought her a cup of coffee in the line of Starbucks. So then she was like all day, like looking for that opportunity to like do something.
Really?
As to pay it, almost to pay it back to the person.
Pay it forward.
Yeah, pay it forward, right? We just live in this society of like, if somebody gives you something, you're like, you feel obligated to give them something else, right? And you don't have to do that in this situation. It's like totally opposite of what makes sense to us.
Yeah, and I would say, and too, like, sometimes it can cheapen what you've received if you don't make any changes, or don't make any adjustments, or don't make any corrections, or don't make any intentions to go forward on a different way, a different path, a different, so I think it's great that if someone has a positive impact on you, you can use that as an opportunity to have a positive impact on others. Like, if that's the inspiration point, that's fantastic.
Yeah. But you're not obligated to do it. You shouldn't feel the obligation.
No, you're not obligated to do
right.
it. And I think that's kind of the basis behind the grace of God with this. Once we understand the overwhelming depth and breadth of that grace, then we should be more compelled to offer it ourselves in our human way as best we can to others, not be like, thanks for the pass.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep cheating on tests.
Yeah, I think.
Right? Like, oh, you mean I don't have to try? You're going to just keep offering me the A?
Yeah.
Right? I'll take it.
Now you bring up a good point. And we've had this conversation off the air before, so I want to kind of have it on the air and flesh it out a little bit. I'm in the position that, and you corrected me a little bit, which I thought was great. In the corporate world that I came from, there was all this talk about like grace got in vogue, right? Like it in vogue to be like, like you'd have some CEO or some president of something or VP or something and be like, well, just give us a little grace right now. You'd be on a conference call, you'd be a little late. Hey, just give me a little grace. I had this other meeting. Sorry that I'm late, right? The word grace was like
Really?
in vogue, right? So I don't know if it's still in vogue because it's been a hot minute, but I had such a problem with it because, and we talked about this off the air, which is I don't believe that anyone can give grace other than God. God gives grace. And you kind of corrected me and said God gives you grace, but then you can flow that to other people. And I think that's a great perspective. That's kind of like what you're talking about is if somebody does something nice for you, don't feel obligated to pay them back. Instead, use that to inspire you.
Yeah, and I can
others.
make genuine attempts to replicate and live into the Christ likeness that is that's grace filled. That doesn't mean I'm extending salvation on behalf of God,
Right.
but
Right.
it does mean I'm attempting to fully live into a call in my life to be more like Jesus. And if we can't extend grace, we're not doing that.
Right. Yeah. I was thinking about this story that I can't remember who told it or where I heard it, but I think that the ultimate point of, and this is my perspective, correct me if you think differently.
Lay people
We're
here.
just lay people here. There's a story of this man, right? And very.
Is this a fable?
No. It's legitimate. I think he was a pastor. I think he was a pastor. I don't know. I'm not going to label him that. Anyways, he was sitting in the church by himself. There's the altar, the table, and he's trying to make a decision, right? Like, do I move here or whatever, right? Trying to make a decision on something. And he's like, God, I just need to tell me what to do. Like which, and anyways. So then nothing, right? So he's like, you know what? I'm going to writes down on a piece of paper 2 or 3 things. I'm going to do these things, lays it on the altar, right? And says, I'm going to do these things for you, right? Just tell me what to do, right? Okay. Waits, nothing, right? So he writes down more and more and more and more and more, right? Does this process over 2 more things, nothing. 2 more things, nothing. 2 more things, nothing, right? And then finally just gets frustrated because he's got this long list of all this stuff he's going to do for God, right? And he finally just like takes it, crumples it up, throws it away, and says, fine, tell me what I should do. And he hears what he says is a voice that says, now you get it. And that was it. And I think that's the point of grace. Is you're given this grace from God. You don't have to do anything for God, right, to repay it. Instead, God wants you to live, to your point, more Christ-like. God wants you to do his work for him. And that's why he's giving you that grace, is so that you can do good for others here, right? So it's not that different. Anyways, that was a great story. I should really find out the person's name and have some more details to it if I'm going to continue using
That'd be great. No, I thought it was a great retelling of that story.
Anyways, so I think that John Wesley, his theology, John Wesley's founded Methodism, emphasized really both service and evangelism, right? So John Wesley wasn't just interested in talking to the people in the church already, but really talking to people that weren't in the church, right? So that's kind of the evangelistic portion of it, which is not to be considered evangelical, which is a whole nother denomination of Christianity. But so I really think that looking to how do we take that in today's society, because we talked about how John Wesley used to go out in the fields, right? Not just preach in church, but he would go out to the fields and
originally did not like that concept. He did not at all.
Right. But he was like, take the message of Jesus out to the people, right? Obviously we don't have 100 people working in a field anymore. We've advanced a little bit in society. So how do we apply some of that thought process today in today's society?
Well, I think we're doing it right now to slap our own back. People have, a lot of folks have either a commute or a routine that gives them an opportunity to consume audible media, or if you're like me in the rural Kearney suburban area, it takes a couple hours to mow the old lawn.
Yep.
So, by having these discussions to where where people are now is everywhere, of course, but the opportunity to interact with folks via all the media types is so broad that I think we are doing it. I think we are putting content where folks are to connect with.
Sure. Well, so then how do the listeners do it?
How did they?
Yeah, how does somebody listening to this now that's like, this is great stuff.
I think mash that subscribe button and
Hit
share.
that subscribe and share.
share.
I think sharing is a good
I share podcast content all the time with people, not podcast content that I've created.
Yeah. I do the same. I send you stuff all the time.
Yeah,
man.
I very rarely share this show because that seems weird.
Yeah, it seems
But-
self-indulging, I guess, a little bit.
But other stuff with great content in it, I pass along all the time.
Yeah.
I love finding, discovering, coming across anything impactful and then sharing it.
Yeah.
I'm like a campaigner, like a promoter of stuff. Like
Okay.
if I find a great deal or
Ooh.
I'll tell. So,
Or if you get my ego electric stuff, right?
oh,
I love
for
it.
sure.
So like anytime somebody's like, "Oh, I didn't know you had that. Are they any good?" I'm like, "Well, full stop. Let me tell you about them."
Yep.
Right? That's what you're talking about, being a good promoter of brands or things or whatever.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it kind of
You
goes.
can be a brand ambassador for Jesus.
Ooh.
Just promote the heck out of it from a point of genuine enjoyment, right? Like,
Yeah.
like I've told my story about the Arctic cooler that I broke.
Mm-hmm.
Broke the cooler. I'm a moron. Sent them an email.
Yeah.
I'm a moron. Is there anything I clearly can't read or know the directions of up and down?
Yes.
And I broke it, right? And they're like, no sweat. We'll send you the new one. Put the old one in the box and send it back to us.
Yeah. Isn't that great?
Great. Like, I tell that story all the time. Big fan. Like, that was grace.
Yeah.
That was grace personified. Lived it out, and here I am talking about it all the time.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we need to be doing with our faith lives. I've got unmerited, unearned, undeserved favor with God that He welcomes me into a loving relationship that is not conditional, and you can have that too if you want it. It's available. You can have it. Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
That's it.
You know, like, so it's, I think And I was thinking of a great example of this the other day too. So you're with this unmerit, like this phrase, "we love because he first loved us," right? I like that phrase. I use that phrase. I try to embody that phrase, but it's hard for me to explain because I like metaphors, or I like to have examples and stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, so your kid Parker, right, preschooler. I watched this kid the other day. You weren't even there. You were in another meeting.
Yeah.
He was hanging out watching he was watching Paw Patrol or something, waiting for you to get out of one meeting. Well, there was another meeting we were going to have. We were going to use the room that he was sitting in. So he's sitting in this room, and unbeknownst to him, all of a sudden this room fills up with people
That
right?
he knows.
That he knows,
Yeah,
but
doesn't interact with
doesn't
him.
know him all that well, right? He's anyway. So all these people filter in. There's probably 7 people in the room, 5 to 7 people. So I don't know whether a show ends or what inspires him, but I'm sitting next to him, and he gets out of his chair, comes around, and he gives me a hug. Right?
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, thanks, buddy. Pat him on the head, and then he leaves. And I think, well, he knows me pretty well. He just wanted to give me a hug. Then he goes and gives every other person in that room a hug, and then goes back to his seat.
Yeah.
Okay? I'd say a hug is a symbol of affection, which we could say is a caring and loving thing. Okay? Parker has been shown love and care, and then he shows it to others.
Yeah.
He's not going around giving others a hug in hopes that his father will see it and reward him with a hug.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah.
And if you boil it down to the simplicity of that and when we roll back to be childlike, he's so generous because others have been generous with him.
Yeah.
And it's not, but in our adult minds, when we start to mature and start to live in a quid pro quo circumstantial world of things, and start seeing and living in, some would dub in air quotes, reality of
the
ways
real
of
world.
ways of the world,
Ways of the world.
and experience some of this stuff, we can almost get confused about what comes first, and are we attempting to do things to earn merit and favor
Yeah.
from God, or are we doing things because we've received merit and favor from God and we want to share that with others?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a great point. And it's really because the world's broken. The world's broken. It's doing things brokenly, right? And so you have to, and I'm pretty sure this is a Bible quote, you have to overcome the world like Jesus overcame the world, right? Like you have to overcome all these things that are out there. I mean, look at and I'm just as guilty of it too. I'm doing it with my oldest, who's in middle school, and now she's getting grades, right? A's, B's, C's, or whatever. And I'm like, you have to get B's or better, not a B minus, a B or better to be able to do an extracurricular activity like an art club. Well, I'm basically telling her, you have to be good to get good things that you want, right? Like, that's the world, right? Then you get into high school, she's going to be ranked in class, right?
Yeah. Well, you get in, I don't know. Some of that stuff you just get into the commerce of things.
Yeah,
You're not expecting her to do anything beyond her cognitive abilities at this moment. Does that make sense?
I mean, I do give her a grade in the house too, and how she's interacting with. I'm teasing.
But you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
I know.
I'm just saying how the world starts on you young. To and even in elementary school, you have 1, 2, 3s, and 4s, right?
Yeah.
Or pluses and minuses, and so there's this. The world just starts in on you with how comparative. How is your grades versus this other kid's grades? Oh, I'm a B student. You're an A student. You're better than me, right? It just really starts on you from a young age. Learning to overcome that. in my 40s is terrible. Terrible.
Yes.
Anyway. So yeah. I read something kind of cool the other day, and I wish I would have printed it out and quoted it. But I would say every denomination, every church has some kind of outreach program that they do, right? They do some kind of, it's kind of a basic tenet, I would say, of Christianity.
I would hope so.
I would hope so.
If your church does not do any outreach or care or anything, I would encourage you to start that at your church.
Yeah.
Start that at your local church.
But the Methodists, the United Methodists, have a
rich history of
rich history of service through building hospitals and foreign outreach and stuff.
UMCOR, United Methodist Committee on Relief.
Yep.
Like that's pretty cool. Like
I read the other day that like the Methodist UMCOR has helped reduce like malaria in
it's a
Africa
real number. Yeah.
to like almost nothing because of the nets, the bed nets that you kind of see sometimes on movies and stuff like that, where they're in Africa and they have this net around their bed to prevent these giant mosquitoes and mosquitoes transmit malaria. And I just find some of that stuff fascinating, that an idea very small of like, hey, these people need this, these people need this, these people need this, and then it just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. It makes a huge impact from a singular idea or outreach program, right? Mm-hmm. And so I want to connect that with your statement of if you're not involved in some kind of outreach program, start something that you're interested in.
Yeah, and it's all about it's so easy. It's easier to be connected to with something you're already passionate about. Yeah. That's where I'd start.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the first thing is you have to find something you're passionate about. If you're in your local church and you don't have anything that you're passionate about, start something. It's not hard. It doesn't take much. It's just a little effort on your part, right? We were talking about the other day, I love to cook, you love to cook, and we were talking about there's several different organizations out there. I won't name any of them because I don't know them and I'm not endorsing anybody. But there's several organizations out there that you can get signed up to cook meals for people.
And do some cooking.
And so
or you don't even got to sign up. Just find somebody who needs a meal and cook them something.
Yeah,
or find somebody who doesn't need a meal and just doesn't want to cook them something. They love it.
Yeah. So you never know what small things can make such a big impact on people, right? And so that's kind of my take on that flow. God's given you this grace to show the world. Find something you're passionate about.
I'd say you want some change. If you want some change in your life, I'd start by helping in a little way to change somebody else's.
Yeah, I found it funny. This is my aunt. Well, anyways, she lost her job. This was years ago in the 2008 financial crisis or whatever. She was working at a small lending company that just went under, right? Because half their mortgages loans just fell apart overnight. Okay. And, they're like, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And she's like, I'm just going to take some time. She's like, I got plenty of savings, got plenty of money. I'm just going to take a time and I'm going to do some volunteering. Right. And at the time, some of her relatives are like, you're crazy. You should be putting your application in here. I know this bank that's hiring and I know this bank that's hiring. And she's like, no, I'm just going to take a little time for myself and I'm going to do some service. Right. And she went out and did 4, 5, 6 service projects, just I think she went to one gala event for something and she waited tables, brought out cocktails for people. I'm not talking big things. She just did little tiny things. Well, anyways, she met somebody in one of these service projects who worked at a bank. They started talking and she's got a much better job now than what she had before. She makes more money. and she loves her career now, right? And she's still there, right? She's been promoted several times, and it all came from taking a moment, wanting to do good for others, and
taking a servitude approach to life,
and people see that from you,
yeah.
right? People see what you're doing, and they appreciate that that attitude and that perspective. I think much more than blasting your resume out to 100 people and I don't want to say beg for a job, but be like, I really need a job, right? Like, anyways, it's just two different perspectives to have in life, and I think that you should follow that that first option. That's all. That's all I have to say. That's all I have to say about that.
That's all I have to say about that.
So, I think that's it, man. Dude.
Are we wrapped?
Dude,
we didn't even call anybody.
We didn't even call anybody.
Hey, you want to just call Grammy real quick, get her on, and
want a
ask
joke.
for a joke?
Let's get a joke.
All right. Let's see. If she answers, we'll get a joke. If not, we'll end the episode without a joke.
Hello.
Grammy,
Yeah.
We fixed it.
we fixed it. We got our phone working. We have our phone working, and we have time to hear a joke.
Well, I don't think I've told you the one about playing cards on Noah's Ark, have I?
No.
No.
You know how long the time must have gotten, all those 40 days, and you know how I like to play with my great grandsons.
Yep.
Cards pass the time. Well, why didn't they play cards on the Ark?
I don't know.
They were afraid of a card shark?
Was Noah one of those? Was
Did he know it all?
I don't know.
I don't
why
know.
why didn't they play cards on the Ark?
Because Noah sat on the deck.
Oh, I should have seen
Okay.
that. I should have
All
seen
right.
that coming.
All right. Now, Dustin, our youth minister, he's got one for you. I wish he was here to tell it. But why? How do you know God's a baseball fan?
How do I know he's a baseball fan? Because
Keith knows.
think I know.
Keith is
I
going to
think
take a
I
stab at it. Go.
Because of the seventh inning, there's a stretch. You take a rest at the seventh inning.
Ooh, not bad.
That's pretty close, though,
Pretty
right?
good. No,
Yeah, all right.
it's actually more cringe than that. The Genesis begins with, in the beginning.
In the big inning, yeah.
In the big inning.
Terrible.
Huh?
Terrible.
Huh?
Terrible.
Yeah. In the big inning, I've heard that too. Yes.
Well, all right. You doing all right? We're trying to wrap up a show, but we got talking extra long, but
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Got my laundry done. Got my bed made. Clean sheets on my bed.
Oh, the best night is clean sheet night.
Fresh asparagus for lunch, and
I have a bunch of that too. I'm about ready to harvest some rhubarb also.
ooh. Yeah, that
Make
sounds
a pie.
good,
Make a
too.
pie.
Mm-hmm.
Had anybody brought you any mushrooms?
No.
I hear they're being found.
Are they?
Mhm.
I didn't think it had been
I didn't think it'd
Wet
been
enough
wet enough either,
wet
but
enough. Not
but
enough rain.
I've seen them. I've seen pictures.
I've seen pictures of somebody with a lot of them.
I've seen pictures of people that I trust. They're not teasing me.
Good old morels.
Yep.
Mhm.
I love them.
So, well,
Okay.
we'll look forward to having more time and getting more than a joke out of you next week. But for
Okay.
that, we're going to wrap it
All
with
right.
That's All the Time. So tell all the good people goodbye.
Everybody, goodbye in Carneyland.
Bye, Grammy.
We'll
Love
see
you.
ya.
Bye-bye.
All right.
That's it.
See you guys later.
See you next week.
Love you. Bye.